did I use an agency or not? The answer is no, and these are the reasons why. I honestly don't know why I'm doing this. So if you're here and you're watching, I think my title would be a bit of how I saved a lot of money by doing and getting my study permit on my own. So I came from the Philippines. I would definitely speak some Tagalog just because it's my first language. So I really do feel like the need to speak in Tagalog for some part of it. But I would definitely try my best to speak in English for the whole time, for the benefit of some friends who do not speak the language, and of course for the benefit of others who also are watching. So what I'm gonna do is to walk you through the step-by-step process I did to make sure that I get my student visa approved. Agencies usually cost about, let's say, 200,000 pesos to 80,000 pesos for something cheaper. That's also $2,000 in Canadian currency, and that's a lot of money for you to spend or for you to save. I chose that path because my resources weren't as liquid, but it taught me a lot of things in general about the immigration process, because you would experience more of such processes when you apply for your postgraduate work permit, when you apply for your permanent residency. Sorry, may listahan ako. Para lang medyo organized tayo. Kasi minsan ang daldal ko eh. Like, I'm very talkative, so I don't necessarily know how to collect my thoughts properly until I write it down on paper. So I really do need that. So number one, gaano mo kagusto? How badly do you want it? Badly do you have the resources for it too? Kasi there are times that you really want something pero wala kang namang pera, or hindi enough yung pera mo, or meron kang pera pero hindi mo naman ganun kagusto. Yung akin was more of the former. Gusto ko talaga mag-aral abroad, and I really wanted to, well, I just wanted to continue my studies. I saved up money for it for the first 5 years of my career. I was thinking of doing my law school in the Philippines or continuing my studies abroad. I thought that I don't think I would be able to swallow the injustice and the justice system of the Philippines. So sabi ko, okay, alis na ako dito. So that made me finalize my decision. Before you decide to immigrate to a country, maybe visit it for a month or two, kasi dun mo talaga malalaman kung gusto mong tumira doon sa bansang yun. Actually, baka nga hindi pa eh, but at least you got a good glimpse of it, right? Okay, so first things first, I had to choose my province. So everything that I am, or the initial part of my student application process, started when I was in the United States. So firstly, I had to choose my province. I think there are 10 provinces in Canada, if I'm not mistaken. I will try to list it all here, but my editing skills suck right now. I chose Ontario for the reason that I have family there, my partner is there, and the weather is something that I think I can adapt to. Kasi parang yung ibang mga provinces nasa -60, -40 pag winter, tapos may mga winter storm ganyan na parang hindi ko ata kaya dahil I came from a tropical country and I really love the sun. When we were choosing provinces, that's the most important tip that I could give you. The weather, like if you could withstand the weather. Secondly, if you know people there, it would really make a big difference. I know we romanticize the fact that we can go discover on our own. We don't have our parents, we have the money, we have the freedom whatsoever. But still, like, this is different from having a vacation. Keep in mind that you're not having a vacation. You are actually studying there for like 1 to 3 years, and that's 3 years of your life already. Coming from me, where I've moved to different places, I can assure you that I can adapt to a lot of environments. Animal. Pero nahirapan ako sa Canada. Dito ako parang tinest yung character ko. Umiyak ako araw-araw halos dahil lang sa winter na to. It's just indescribable how weather could actually change your mood, and there's science to prove that. So after nun, pili na tayo ng school. So you have to choose the school. For myself, chose Ontario, as I've mentioned, and I wanted to, in Ontario there's a lot of cities as well, so I wanted to stick to Toronto. I chose to study in York University. I did choose between 3 schools. The first 2 schools were University of Toronto, the second one would be Ryerson, and the third one would be York University. Yun yung mga pinagpilian kong school. Same in the Philippines, same in Canada. There are, what do you call this? There are universities and there are also colleges. For example, sa Pilipinas, meron tayong San Beda College of San Beda College of Manila, University of Santo Tomas, alma mater, or De La Salle University versus Colegio de Santa Rosa. Ewan ko, basta yun. Those are the schools, for some reason, that came up to me right now. Anyways, so same here. There are schools that you can choose from. And again, it's depending on your preferences. So for the schools, if you have any questions, feel free to email and join, you know, the online webinars for each of these schools so you could actually get to know them, because that's a big thing for you to determine which program best fits you, what school environment best fits you, and whatnot, right? So for my tuition fee, I think I paid around 17,000 Canadian dollars for the full year. Mine's an accelerated program, so I took it in the span of 8 months. But then again, there are other programs where you can take it for 2 years, where you can take an internship, do a co-op, so on and so forth. There are a lot of choices depending on your program of choice, right? So I took business administration to marry with my undergrad, which is legal management, pre-law course. I just thought that business administration would give me more chances of landing a job, just because it's a diversified program and not something that is very specific to one niche or very specific to one industry, right? So yun yung thought process ko during that time. There's a category for international students, and for the international student part, just make sure that you're looking at it, because again, students from Canada or domestic students who are born and raised in Canada, who are Canadian citizens, are paying less than international students. We pay twice or thrice as much as them. So kung yung program ko was like 6,000 for a domestic student, mine is at 17,000. So that's $10,000 more for an international student. But the beauty about studying as an international student here is that the government of Canada gives you a postgraduate work permit, wherein the length or the duration of your studies is equal to the years of work permit they would provide you. So for example, mine is a year's duration or a year's worth of program. Even if it's an 8-month course, they provided me with a 1-year postgraduate work permit, right? So yung 2 years mo na inaral dito, hindi lang 2 years. It will actually entail a 3-year postgraduate work permit, and that's the max number of years they could give for a work permit. All right, so that's the thing. I I know you're paying like a premium amount, and there are cheaper alternatives to this, but then again, there are only designated learning institutions that I'll link below, but the designated learning institutions are listed in the Canadian government's website. Make sure to check that and make sure your school belongs to that list, because if it doesn't, then whatever you pay, whatever you study here, how long it is, if it's not a designated learning institution, they're not gonna take that into consideration. So make sure to check that. All right, and then under the international students tab, you would see a number of requirements, of course. So mine did require my transcripts from my university, because you could only join my program if you've already graduated from a bachelor's degree. And then the second one would be a language test, which is your IELTS, TOEFL, whatever English proficiency test there is. York accepts a lot of English proficiency tests from all over the world, but I think the most popular one in the Philippines is the IELTS. I will release a video about the IELTS. I got an 8.5 in IELTS. Wow, hindi halata. Pero yes, so I got an 8.5, and my school and the government of Canada requires around 6.5 average in the band. I will share a few tips and tricks in that specific video, just so that I could walk you through, but I am using IDP for all of my IELTS tests, may it be here or back in the Philippines. Had to do a test. Some schools require a GMAT or a GRE if you're taking a master's in business. And then, of course, some personal information. And yeah, that's about it. You have to register again. And on top of the tuition fee, which is 17,000, the registration fee is... It varies from like 80 Canadian dollars to 120 Canadian dollars depending on your program. So, registration fee yun. Yun yung pinakamauunang fee na babayaran nyo. And whether you take that school or not, you can't refund that fee. Some do refund it, but from those three that I registered with, I wasn't able to refund it. All right. So when I was in the States, I needed to, of course, liaise with my old institution, which is University of Santo Tomas. So the thing is, you can't really get your transcripts and then send it to York. It needs to come from institution or from your previous institution and be sent over to their institution. So to save me a lot of time, I already pre-booked my IELTS tests. So my tests were scheduled on I think the 22nd of August. So I knew, of course, I knew already that I was going back to the Philippines by August of 2018. It gave me time to review the test structure, what I had to prepare for, what types of questions do I think would come up in that test, just so that I don't screw it up the first time. Because taking an IELTS test also, I think it's also around $10,000, or sorry, 10,000 pesos if I'm not mistaken. Yun ay nung panahon na nagtitake ako, which is back in 2018. So 10,000 pesos din yun, diba? Mas magandang makuha ko na siya ng tama the first time kesa magloko-loko pa ako. Kahit concert ni Chance the Rapper nung araw na yun. Grabe. Alright, so nagawa ko na yung IELTS ko. Nagawa ko na yung UST ko. So my transcripts are now currently, or then was currently being sent to York. So I was just waiting for that. Of course, I chose the expedited shipping, which takes about 3 to 5 business days to get to them. And then for my IELTS, I took the written type exam, which is the academic category because I was studying. I needed to wait 13 days before I could see the results. So when I got my IELTS test, I uploaded a soft copy to my profile in York. So, yun na, meron ng unofficial transcripts, tapos meron ng unofficial IELTS results. And then after a few days, I think, I did receive my offer of admissions. I will link it, but my offer of admissions is, I received it in October 15 of 2018. So it took a while, like maybe a month and a half for me to receive everything. Once you receive that email, that's when you actually start your student permit application. So that's a different process altogether. Kailangan may acceptance letter ng school para makapag-apply ka ng student visa. So for the student visa, sis, you have to know as much as you can for the student visa, trust me. For the student visa, I will link the requirements below. But the beauty about the Canadian government is that they walk you through it. So, kailangan mo lang kasi diba yung acceptance letter, tapos yung valid passport or your travel document. That's the most important thing. So, if your passport is gonna expire, like I was, or like my passport was, that was one of the things that I actually did, you know, settle prior or during the time I was waiting for my acceptance letter. I am looking at the screen because I think my camera is about to die, but fingers crossed that it's not. So, yung valid passport ko was about to, well, my invalid passport was expired, or my travel document was about to expire, and I needed to renew it. Prepare is your proof that you can support yourself and your family members who are coming with you to Canada, and also your intent to apply. May essay tayo dito, may essay part tayo. So kailangan mo pa rin ipakilala yung sarili mo at some point as to why you want to apply for, or why you want to study in Canada. I think back in December of 2018, before I left for Canada, they required Filipinos to already take biometrics, your biometrics or your fingerprints. It's very easy. It's I think 20 minutes or shorter than that. I never took it because I applied prior. It was required. But when I was applying for my permanent residency, they required it from me. So ngayon, mas maganda na i-take nyo na dyan kasi it's good for 10 years. It's easy because all the PDF files are already provided for you. And then you just have to fill that out and make sure that you don't leave anything blank. If you don't know what to put, the Canadian government has already given you some examples of what to put. So for example, don't leave one thing blank, put not applicable. Or pag wala ka namang dadalhin, instead of putting NA, put 0. Parang ganun. So they do give you instructions as to how you would fill it out. It's in a separate document, and there are blogs, not vlogs, but blogs that walk you through it. Just make sure to read that and have a reference beside you because it's very helpful. It took me, what, 1 day to like input everything and submit it to, and finish it and collate it for myself. Okay, namatay talaga. So my camera died and I am so sorry. So for the digital photos, it's fairly easy. They give you the the pixels that's needed, the dimensions, everything, the sizing, etc. So for Canadian applications, they have a specific instruction for that. Just follow it. Most of the like photo stores, or what you call that, like photography stores or ID photo taking stores in Manila or in the Philippines or in any country, I think, would know what the Canadian requirements are kasi hindi naman tayo yung unang nag-a-apply. So meron nang nakapag-apply dati, and it was great. It was a great help. Let's thank the heavens for the people who have migrated. And then of course, yung police clearance tsaka yung NBI nyo, make sure that you have that ready. A police clearance, I think, is good for 30 or 60 days, and then the NBI has an expiration date of 1 year as well. So just make sure that everything, or those are updated. Thing that I forgot to say in this application is your show money. So for the show money, make sure that you can cover a year's expense in Canadian dollars. A year's expense meaning, let's say 400 for rent. So what I like about York is that they gave me like a breakdown of how much it is, or what I can actually expect in living in Canada. So ang pinakita ko was my tuition, which is $17,000, which I even already paid, but still I still showed the money for that. So $17,000 plus living expenses for a year, which is, let's say, another $20,000 or $1,000 a month. Sorry, so mga $12,000 plus books and of course living expenses. So ang mga pinakita ko for show money, I think, was close to 1.2 million pesos or 1.5 million pesos, and they were okay with that. You don't require a lot of money to show. I mean, that's a lot, but you don't require millions and millions of money to show. They don't care how much your family's money is, but you could only show if you're showing your parents' finances. Make sure that they also write a letter that they are going to help you in terms of your finances. The Canadian government would update your profile, and it would, or they would ask you to conduct a medical exam. So there are also medical examiners who are only appointed by the Canadian government, and they would provide you a list of that, whichever is closest to your place. I think I paid around 13,000 pesos to 15, or sorry, around 13,000 pesos, I think, for the whole process, or for the whole medical examination. But I did need to retake 2 more exams because I have piercings. I don't know if you could see, but I do have piercings and tattoos, and they had to test more just because you had those. So maghanda na kayo na magbayad ng extra for that. And then after I got after I've sent the student permits, they approved it, and then I sent over my passport. I got my passport back, and they would give you a receipt, and they would also give you a copy, like a sheet of paper. You have to keep that paper. That sheet of paper is very important, just because the immigration officer in the entry port of Canada asks for that specific paper. I think I could upload that here or here. I don't know. I'm not yet an editing guru, but I will try to show you what it looks like because I still have it. I think it was end of November or early December of 2018. So I booked my ticket for January 1st of 2019. And when I landed here, it was also January 1st of 2019. So, diba? Talagang New Year. You have to prepare for your arrival as well. Make sure you have your proper residences. Make sure that well, there's Uber here, so you don't have to worry about that, but just make sure that you know how to get to your place beforehand, when from the airport to wherever you would reside. Kasi, syempre, mas maganda nang prepared ka kesa hindi, diba? Madami ka pang kailangan. There's a lot more things that we have to go through before we could actually step into the permanent residency arena. But the Canadian government is very kind and they're very understanding. So just make sure to follow every step that's already stipulated in their website, because that's where they base their approvals from as well, right? I don't have anything else. I think that sums up the video that I want to go through with you. My friend said, what are some of the frequently asked questions when people are messaging me? Firstly was this. Secondly was, where did I live? Where did I live when I first came here? So I lived with my father's cousin, and I never met my tito or that uncle my whole entire life. I only hear him in stories, like minimal stories, because again, he was here for half of his, or more than half of his life, right? And it's fairly awkward for me to live with somebody called family, even if, because I haven't known them. But I'm very thankful that I did, because I learned a lot from them during my first month here in Canada. So yun yung mga frequently asked questions. Siya, kung magkano nagastos ko, how long the process took. So for me, how long the process took was 5 months. It's quick. It's very quick. Of course, it's different right now. We're living in COVID times, but it's still pretty fast given the fact that there are a lot of people who wants to come here to Canada. And this is a very beautiful country, beautiful city. You will never second guess. It's sad at first because you're leaving your family and your friends who you've known like most of your life. But then again, I feel like if they're already your friends and your family, of course your family loves you no matter what, but if they're already your friends, you don't have to worry. They're just gonna be there to support you, and they're one call away. Thank God for video calls, right? That would be the best overview I could give you in terms of how I did it and as to what my thought process was during that time. So again, if you have any questions, just feel free to let me know, and I'll see you soon. Bye. Hi, editing Leah. I forgot to say that this is also a bit of why I moved to Canada. I hope it really does help you in terms of your process and also your progress in immigrating to this wonderful country. Again, if I missed anything, or if I did say something that isn't as accurate as you've read it, it might be because it was applicable to my situation, and feel free to give, you know, any constructive criticism about what I've just said. It would really help me in terms of also educating other people in coming to this country. All right, thank you, bye.